Welcome to episode 5 of Startup to Sold. Today we're going to go through register your business, the steps to take in terms of doing that, and best practices. So the topics we'll cover today are going to be deciding on your business structure. I'll explain to you what the corporate veil is and how to maintain protections through that, registering with the state, getting an EIN number, registering with the city and county, and then opening the bank account. When it comes to business structure, you've got some different options that you can look at. So it's best to understand the different structures and then act accordingly. You may even want to talk to an attorney or look online and understand what the best practices are. The most common is going to be the LLC, but we'll start out first here, the sole proprietorship. With the sole proprietorship, it's definitely going to be the easiest to register. I think it's just your social security number, but you do lack some protections that you get through an LLC or being in a corporation. The LLC, limited liability company, this is the most popular version for small businesses out there, even mid-sized businesses. From what I've been told out there, this is the best to protect personal assets and avoid additional liability. Corporation, S or C Corp. This is best for startups. If you're planning to raise money or offer shares, this could be the best option in that area. Partnership is going to be for 2 or more co-owners. One thing I do want to get into with the partnership is if you're starting a business and can avoid having a partner, that could be best. I've seen a lot of businesses fail from potentially bad partner. When you start a business with a partner, there can always be disagreements on the direction of the business. You'll hear a lot of different horror stories out there. If one partner is maybe not working as hard as the other, it can create some resentment. It can create one partner's pulling money back out of the business when the other partner wants it to stay in the business. One partner may want to do growth and expansion while the other one doesn't want to. So you definitely need to avoid a partnership if possible, in my opinion. And if it is inevitable, having one person with the majority equity or interest in this and is clearly in charge. Because if you don't have one person clearly in charge and making the shots, then you really don't have any direction there and you're going to be subject to having some struggles. Starting a business is challenging enough. Getting it to grow, navigating all these steps is challenging enough. To add an additional dynamic in terms of partnership and disagreements can really derail a business quite quickly. And I think that is a part of a business that probably leads to a business's demise more often than not is a bad partnership. But you'll see most founders do go with an LLC initially. One thing to keep in mind is you can always change the structure. In the next slide, we'll explain a little bit about this corporate veil concept. This is a very important slide here, and it's not well known or discussed out there, but many people select LLCs or corporations to shield them from additional liabilities, from claims that can arise from doing business, or financial liability or risk associated with the business, or loans, or ultimately some sort of failure. One thing with the corporate veil is if the corporate veil is deemed to have been pierced. So the corporate veil is what provides you those protections with an LLC or a corporation. If it's been deemed the corporate veil's been pierced, all of those protections may be taken away. If you're in a legal situation, an attorney could try to pierce the corporate veil. And by doing this, they would look in and say, okay, did you not separate your finances? So that's where having a business account is very important, but also not mixing that money, using that business account to pay for personal expenses, soccer camp or buying a car or doing anything. You have to keep everything strictly separated, and you cannot use your business accounts as a personal piggy bank. If you start intermingling too much with your corporate accounts and your personal accounts and using them to spend that way, you can have an argument made against you that the corporate veil has been pierced and then all of your protections from being structured as an LLC or corporation will erode. Another one would be when you're signing business contracts, I would say sign it as a business name, using your personal name instead of the company name. You want to keep the company name in there instead. That sounds pretty self-explanatory, but when you're getting lots of different documents, lease agreements could be for a building, it could be equipment leases or anything like that. You just want to make sure you're following everything correctly and signing it. As a startup business, you're going to have to personally guarantee a lot of stuff just because of your lack of time in business. It's just inevitable. But generally, they'll have one set of documents for a lease for you to sign, which will be all the corporation documents. So you will sign it as a corporation or an LLC, so you'll follow the protocols in that. And then they'll have a separate document, which will be a personal guarantee agreement, which would be where you would sign and personally guarantee the loan or the lease in addition to the business doing it. That a lot of times can be inevitable. You can't say, oh, I'm a corporation or I'm an LLC, I shouldn't have to sign a PG. It's a credit decision, and the bank will say, well, then I'm not going to approve it. So a lot of times you have to go in and do this in order to build business credit up anyway. Personal guarantees are pretty common, especially in an early stage business. Another part that you'll have to consider here is, saying file annual reports or statements of information. Different states have different intervals of statements of information. I know at Offsite, when I had a branch in California, we were required to file a statement of information every other year. So it was pretty tricky to remember to track that, because you don't know, did I do it last year or this year? And you have so many other steps you have to do in running a business. It becomes really challenging to try to remember that, oh, the statement of information is due for California this year for my California branch. It was hard to remember. I use RenewAlert to track that. And it helped me a lot because it would just send me the information over, but it also had, because a lot of times you have to log into a website, and a website is not an easy to find website. And then there's different steps in there. And then there's a different login that you wouldn't necessarily use. And their passwords are unique, or they're very long, or different than your common ones. So I put everything pretty much into RenewAlert, and it would email me, okay, this is what I have to do. I'll do it 2 months before it's due. Here's the email. Here's the login. Here's my credentials. And then I can upload into that too, put in additional details of, here's what I did last time. This got a little tricky, so I do have my different steps laid out there. But these are very important. If you let that statement of information lapse, that can potentially invalidate your corporation and allow an attorney to pierce your corporate veil. Another one with the corporation that you'll have to do is maintaining bylaws, having annual meetings, and maintaining minutes from the meetings. And then, so those are filings, and those are, again, additional steps that you have to do and be able to produce in the event you ever did have some sort of an area where they were attempting to pierce the corporate veil or see if it had been pierced. So you do have to do these steps in order to maintain that. If you have a sole proprietorship or a general partnership, as it says here, really no corporate veil exists. So these don't provide you those protections that you can get from an LLC or corporation. So when it comes to registering your business, we'll start here with the state. You just would go to the Secretary of State website, and you're going to need the business name, which we discussed in the prior episode. What is that business name? What's that business structure you decided on? And so you'll put that in as your legal name. Is it going to be an LLC, a corporation, sole proprietor, etc.? Registered agent. So it must be a registered agent, cannot be a PO box. So you can actually put the registered agent, you can be the registered agent yourself. So the purpose of a registered agent is it's going to be filed on your state articles of incorporation or paperwork. The registered agent is going to be the address where it's a physical address that someone can go to and deliver paperwork. It's where you can get served, essentially. So they're going to want the name of the individual and an address. So that has always got to be maintained up, and it's always got to be in that state, city, and county where you are registering. So when I was opening California up with Offsite, I was required to incorporate in California, even though I was an Arizona corporation too. And then I had to have a registered agent in California. My branch in Ontario, I listed as the registered agent, and I named the branch manager there as the registered agent individual. But if you are opening something and it's not, you don't have a place of business there, for example, you could go with a registered agent service, which is a company that will actually fulfill the role of a registered agent on your behalf for you, which is legal to use in these situations. Or if you don't want to provide your business address or your information as a registered agent in that state, you can use a registered agent service. But you do have to provide a real address and individual at that location. And then the last part would just be your business address. Going over here to the right side, getting an EIN number. This is critical. So this is called the Employee Identification Number. It's issued by the IRS. It's pretty easy to get it. You would just go to the IRS website, www.irs.gov/EIN, and you just sign up. Take you probably 5 minutes, and then what'll happen is, I don't think you get it online right there. It doesn't show it to you, but they will mail you your EIN number. And it generally will get there in 7 to 10 days, I think. It doesn't take very long. You're going to want to scan that and keep that document. It's a critical document. You're going to need that because you're going to have people, if you're doing B2B, business-to-business transactions, oftentimes people will ask you for your W-9. So you're going to need to have your EIN number in the W-9 form, which is what they'll use to 1099 you at the end of the year. But again, that's it's sort of like your business's social security number. Without using yours, it's an EIN number. And the other part that's good with the EIN number is you use it to file taxes. It's used for business credit. So that's a big one too. So this is basically if you want to build your business credit profile, you're going to need an EIN number. And you're going to need it to open a bank account. So you cannot open a bank without an EIN number, a commercial bank account. So you've got to have that information. You have to have the EIN in there. And again, the other part with a bank account, the importance of that, business credit, because a lot of times when you apply for credit, they may give you an application. And instead of wanting to do stuff on the personal guarantee, there is an application only as you establish your time in business. Time in business can be established if, say, Dun & Bradstreet doesn't have a full profile built on you, and the credit comes back and says, hey, we were looking at you, we needed you to be 2 years or 3 years in business. We don't show that. If you indeed are 3 years in business, you could actually provide your bank information, and then they can actually call the bank and get a bank rating. And the bank will say, hey, this is the date the account opened, this is their average balance, this is how many NSFs there's been. So they can they can establish comparable credit. So it's really helpful to establish that bank as soon as you can and always keep that bank account pristine and in good shape. Additional tips, we'll go back to, again, avoiding business partners if you can. Another one is be aware of city and county business registrations and licensing requirements. There's so many different variations. We can't really put that into a training module here. What I would suggest is researching that through Google or looking that up. What are they? And I can go back again to California. I can guarantee you we'll have more. And when I opened up Ontario, that was another one. I didn't realize I needed to file a city business permit until the fire marshal walked into my office. And I wasn't there, but basically, that was where he went in and, oh, I don't like this racking, which is, oh, you need a building permit for racking. Again, thanks fire marshal there. So they came in and hammered me my racking and then asked where my business license was. And so they, since I didn't have a business license issued, they couldn't really cite me, but what they did was said, we're going to come back in 30 days and you need to have this. So what I had to do then was research, okay, what do I need for a City of Ontario business license? And I needed to go through and do a wastewater analysis, and we just moved copiers and stored them. And we don't have wastewater. We have toilets and sinks and a couple of things, but that was it. But I had to go through and then you have to, okay, how do I do the wastewater thing? So it's a rabbit hole you just get pulled into. And a lot of times with this city-state compliance, there's no manual, there's no guidebook. They really don't tell you anything. You almost have to find it and think you got it all, and then all of a sudden it'll just pop up, oh, you need this too. Oh, you need this. It's just the way it is. So then once you do it, you've got to capture it and put it into, again, I'm just saying is RenewAlert's helpful for me on that. I put it in because it becomes so much on this city, state, federal compliance. It's just ridiculous. And if you let any one of these little things slip, it could cause you to get shut down. It can cause the corporate veil to get pierced. It can cause you to get fines. It can cause you to be put in not in good standing, which then can affect your ability to get money, to borrow money, to sign a building lease somewhere. So all these things are important, and you have to juggle them, and you have to stay on top of them. Next one is if you don't feel comfortable doing all this. I mean, I think how I started it, I did it is you can just go online and use a company. I'm not saying LegalZoom, but you can use they were one. I don't know if they're still around, but yeah, you could go to LegalZoom and they'll do it. And I think last time I saw it was right around $500 to $600, and then you can pay for expedited. So they'll hit you up for more and more money. But again, a lot of the stuff you can do yourself and save that money. An attorney is another option there where you can consult and go through some different structure options. They're the most expensive as well, so they can be about $1,500 is what I've seen on it for that service. Again, where we're looking at bootstrapping and trying to make every penny count, this is an area where maybe the attorney's helpful, but for the most part, you can always go in, file it as an LLC, and then if you decide down the road you want to change it, consult with an attorney and then say, well, should I go to a corporation? Should I be a S or C type corporation? And really understand the differences between the two, because they do have some pretty substantial differences, and that is an area that I think you would want to retain an attorney for. But for the initially starting the business and saving as much money as you can up front, you honestly can do this yourself and save a whole bunch. The last part here is establish a bank right when you get your EIN. That'll do it. Hopefully this helps, and please subscribe and like for future content. Thank you very much.